All right, today I'm going to talk to you about the 80-20 rule. And the 80-20 rule simply says that 20% of what you do creates 80% of the results that you get. Now, knowing that to be true, if I want to increase my production, then I simply want to increase the amount of time that I spend in my 20% and decrease the amount of time that I spend in my 80%. And first of all, what's the 20%? Well, the 20% is lead generation. Lead generation is your number one job. Until lead generation is done, everything else is a distraction. Everyone else is a distraction. Now, in order to know if you've achieved your goal of being in lead generation today, you can check that box and say, done. You need to know what lead generation is. You have to have a definition of what lead generation is. And here's my definition. My definition is 20 real estate conversations. That's two-way conversations. You're actually picking up the phone and talking to somebody, or you're knocking on the door and speaking to them at their front door, or you're at a networking event and you're talking face-to-face with people. Two-way communication via text is fine. Two-way communication via Messenger on Facebook is fine. And I want to have 20 conversations. The best form of communication is face-to-face. If I can have a conversation with you face-to-face, that's my first choice. The second best way to have a conversation with you is on the phone. So focus on having 20 conversations a day and one appointment booked, whichever comes last. Now, that's the definition of lead generation for me. An appointment is somebody who's interested in selling their home or interested in buying a home. It doesn't have to be today. It doesn't need to be 30 days, 6 months from now. It could be a year from now. I'm looking for opportunity, period. Not just opportunity right now. Now, the second thing that is part of my 20% is going on appointments with buyers and sellers. For sale by owner previews, counts. Expired listing previews, counts. Those are appointments. Meeting with somebody to discuss an updated market analysis is an appointment. Meeting with somebody that is thinking of selling their home in 6 months, and you spoke to them from making circle prospecting calls earlier in the day, and now you've got an appointment with them. That's an appointment. So meet with buyers and sellers. The third thing that is part of your 20% is go on listing appointments and take seller listings. The fourth thing that is a part of your 20% is write offers and negotiate contracts. And the fifth thing that is part of your 20% is practicing and role-playing your scripts. Now, that's it. So then the next question is, okay, if that's the 20%, John, what's the 80%? Everything else. And here's where we have a challenge. We get caught up in distractions. And I'm going to share my screen with you to have this conversation. At least I think I am. We'll see. All right, cool. All of you should be looking at urgent, not important, and waste of time. Jason, can you give me a thumbs up? Is that what you're looking at? Cool. All right, so this is from Stephen Covey, and Stephen Covey in The Habit of 7 Effective Habits of Highly Successful People. There we go. There we go. Okay, now we're good. Move that so I can see it. Okay, good. In the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey talks about the 4 quadrants of time, and he breaks these quadrants down into quadrant 1 over here on the top left, which is urgent and not important. Excuse me, it's urgent and important. Quadrant 1. Quadrant in the top right-hand box is not urgent and important. Quadrant in the bottom left-hand box is urgent and not important. And then the quadrant in the bottom right-hand of the box is not urgent and not important. All right, this quadrant up here in the top left, urgent and important. You're dealing with problems. You're putting fires out. You're redoing a job in order to make sure that it gets done right. You're meeting deadlines. These are things that come up in the middle of the day, like a call from the title company letting you know that there's a problem with the closing you have scheduled for tomorrow. And if you don't take care of this problem, the deal is not going to close. It's urgent and it's important. And you're going to stop doing what you're doing in order to take care of this now, because if you don't, you're not going to close on this sale. Now, a lot of people, when I'm sharing this conversation with them, if I ask, which is the most important box, where do we want to spend most of our time? They'll answer with, well, quadrant 1, because it's urgent and important. And the answer is actually no. I want to minimize the amount of time I'm spending in quadrant 1, because quadrant 1 burns me out. It doesn't add income to the bottom line. It's not creating potential income. It's putting out fires in order to keep deals together. But remember the number one thing that I shared with you on the 5 things that make up your 20%. Number 1 is lead generation. Now, if you had to pick a box and say, this is where lead generation lives, is it quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, or quadrant 4?
It's 2.
2, exactly. Yeah, and please write that down, because I'm going to teach this again. I promise you, repetition is the mother of learning. I've taught this before. I'm going to teach it again. And next time, everybody pop in with quadrant 2. It's not urgent, but it's absolutely important. If you're not in lead generation, you're not creating future opportunity. And going on appointments with buyers and sellers, not urgent, but important. Going on listing appointments, not urgent, but important. Writing offers and negotiating contracts, not urgent, but important. Practicing and role-playing your scripts, 100% not urgent and 100% critically important. So everything that lives within your 20% lives in that top right-hand box. Now, one of the challenges that all of you are dealing with is this bottom left-hand box, which is not important, but it's urgent, otherwise known as a distraction. Your phone's ringing, probably a quadrant 3 phone call. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, John, what if that's somebody who's calling me to list their home? Well, then it's a quadrant 2 call, 100%. And you've got to get really, really good at this, at either having a system for answering your phone calls, or a voicemail that lets people know that their call is urgently important to you, that you will call them back at your first opportunity. I'm going to encourage you not to answer the phone every single time it rings if you're in lead generation, or if you're on a listing appointment. If you're on a listing appointment and your phone rings, do you answer the phone? No, of course not, because that listing appointment is super important. Lead generation is as well. So if you're in lead generation, I'm encouraging you not to answer your phone, but check the voicemail. And if it's a quadrant 2 phone call, get back to them right away. A lot of meetings are urgent to other people, but not important. Interruptions, walk-ins, got a minute. All of these things are urgent. They're urgent to someone else, and they're not important. Now, the biggest waste of time is the bottom right-hand box. These are your time wasters. Quadrant 4, these are water cooler conversations. This is, what'd you think about the football game yesterday? Holy cow, the Miami Dolphins sure did play a close game. Thought they were going to beat the Bills there. Blah, 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 blah. You spend 20 minutes talking about yesterday's football game, and 20 minutes are gone. And then at the end of the day, you look at your calendar and you go, oh my gosh, I feel like I worked really, really hard and I didn't get anything done. It's because you're not focused on the 20%, because you don't have an understanding of how these 4 quadrants work. All right, here's your goal. Your goal is to double the amount of time you want to spend in quadrant 2. If I said, what's one thing you can do in order to double your production and double your income? The simple answer is double the amount of time you're spending in quadrant 2, or double the amount of time that you're spending on your 20%. How do you do that? By taking time away from quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. look at what you're doing in a day and identify the things that you did yesterday that live in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4 and eliminate those things from your daily routine. Success is found in your daily routine. And what I would encourage you to do is the same thing I do with a lot of my coaching clients is just get a notebook and block it off in half-hour time periods and write down everything that you're doing during the day. Do that for a week. And at the end of the week, you're going to get a really clear picture of where you're spending your time. Now, what most of you are going to find is you're not spending the majority of your time in your 20%. Identify the things earlier that are your 20%. Lead generation, going on appointments with buyers and sellers, going on listing appointments and taking seller listings, writing offers and negotiating contracts, and practicing and role playing your scripts. Now, if you're working 10 hours a day, what percentage of your time are you working in those 5 things? All right, take yourself off mute, raise your hand, talk to me, lots of comments in the chat, and I'll get to those. Oh, there's a lot of 2s in the chat. I wasn't seeing that. All right, guys, I know this is an issue. I'm talking to you about this today because these are conversations that I'm having with my coaching clients. My coaching clients are pretty successful real estate agents. And if they're having challenges with this, then I know you are. So not comfortable talking with a bunch of people listening to you, so what? Take yourself off mute and talk to me. All right, got a hand. Thank you, Diane.
Hi, good morning.
Yep.
I mean, I will be the first and always the one to admit this is always my problem, the focus and being able to stay on task. So, but then, you know, it goes back to the big why, you know, why am I doing this? Sorry for the background noise. Puppy's a little crazy this morning.
Okay.
But we had this conversation and yeah, I already, you know, created my, for my WHAM meeting this morning that I'll have with the girls later. And also for the week, every half hour and, you know, on a spreadsheet. And that's the only way so that I can sort of like evaluate it at the end of the evening or the end of the day to see, you know, where is the time being spent? Am I really, you know, using the time valuable? Because I definitely do want to work the 20%. So I have the 80% to do what I want to do and leverage out the other work.
Yeah, that's the next conversation. Thank you so much for Diane for that. And thank you for sharing, for being transparent. We're all growing, so thank you. The next conversation is, well, some of those 80% things, John, are really important, right? You get a listing, you got to put it in the MLS. And if you don't have an administrative assistant, you are the administrative assistant. If you don't have somebody that cleans your house, you're the house cleaner. If you don't have somebody who cuts your lawn, you're the person who cuts the lawn. You know, the greatest thing about having somebody come out every week and cut my lawn is that they are cutting the lawn. Now, could I potentially do it better? Yes, maybe. Then again, maybe not. And I've got that activity leverage so I can choose to spend time where I want to spend time. All right, Nicole, thank you for sharing in the chat. This is exactly what I've started doing. Nicole, where are you on my screen? Can you take yourself off mute and talk to me? She's still with us. All right, there she is. All right, Nicole, I'm not going to make you, maybe you're someplace where you can't talk. All right, all good. And I'm sorry for calling out.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I did have
There
to
you
step
are.
away. I'm sorry. I got so much going on right now. I just wanted to chime in there.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that. I just have one, first of all, thank you for sharing. And one quick question for you. This is exactly what I've started doing. So tell me, what is this? Which part of the conversation?
Be kind of jotting down exactly what I'm doing in a day. I've got a 5-month-old and
Yeah.
a 7-year-old. So I'm just kind of jotting down to see what my schedule is like during the day, and where I could be more productive.
Okay.
So I think you were kind of saying that, write down what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Nicole, thank you so much. And 5-month-old and 7-year-old, they're at the very top of what's most important. So they're not part of the 80%. They are at the top of the top of the top of what's important. Now, at the same time, you want to build a successful real estate career. And what I would encourage you to do is find times during the day that you can focus 100% of your energy on real estate. And success is not the result of how many hours we work. Success is the result of how much focus and energy we put into that time. So if you're working 4 hours a day, that's all you've got, and you can focus 100% of your energy in that 4 hours, go get it. You can be massively successful, because success is focus and energy. It's not time.
Right.
Keep
Another
going.
good lesson learned in your morning chats with us.
Got it. And I'm super proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing. Megan, talk to me.
That's why I love the counterbalance conversation, because there's no such thing as a balanced life, right? And I love the analogy of whenever you're looking at a ballerina and she's on her tiptoes, she's not actually still. If you look super closely, she's wavering back and forth. And that's the counterbalance. So I think it's just super important that whenever you're off, you're truly off. And whenever you're on, you're 100% on. That way, you know that your efforts are what they're attributed to. So if you're working, that's it, you're working. And you need to create a bunker or whatever it is. So that's why I love the counterbalance conversation in general.
Love it. Thank you. Agree. And 100%, the time that we're referencing, I'm talking to one of the questions in the chat right now. One of the time that we're referencing is both your work life and your family life, but this conversation is mostly focused on working hours and how we divide that time. What's interesting is I would tell you that there's a 20% within your family life too. There's a 20% in your spiritual life. There's a 20% in your emotional life and in your in your physical life. So it's pretty interesting when you start studying that. And in each area of your life, just ask yourself, what's the 20% here? And focus on that. All right, Lonnie and Clarissa, and then I have to jump to Rainmaker Plus. Don't forget to put your email in the chat if you want more information on additional coaching through Rainmaker Training and Coaching. I will get to you today. Chat saved. Lonnie, talk to me.
So I have to commit that I started as a time management trainer 40 years ago in Germany. So what you showed is a Pareto principle, in fact. So it's a great model. The most difficult thing is to follow it. And so the most important thing to do this is to see how much working time you have, because there is a life outside of real estate, and then split the working time in this 20/80 model. And another thing, and that's the most or one of the most difficult ones, is if you are working in your field too with important things, just block the phone, block the door, do it, and maybe do a break after 1 hour. See, is there anything urgent that you have to take care of immediately? Do it, and then go back to the important thing you were working on, because this is getting back to the important things to keep this. Yeah, I think you understand what I'm talking about.
Gotcha, Lonnie. Thank you so much. Thank you for contributing that. It means a lot. Clarissa, take us out.
Good morning.
Good
You
morning.
know, teaching and being an administrator for so many years, you know, you teach the teachers to teach because of our attention spans. We can't absorb long periods of time. So when we talk about the lead generation, you know, 3 hours of lead generation, for me, I just struggled with it and could never accomplish it. And then it dawned on me, we used to teach teachers to chunk the
Mm,
lesson, break it up in small parts. And, you know, our center, our market center, had us do the 12-week year. And one of the things that Sheena still talks about is the Pomeranian theory, where you're on for 25 minutes, take a break, on for 25 minutes, take a break. And I've started doing that. Last week was because I am doing the 12-week year, but I started chunking my time and taking the 25 minutes. And believe it or not, I actually was quite successful in making those DT-D2 calls. So when you talk about lead generation in 3 hours, that's just overwhelming for me. Can't do it, haven't been able to do it, won't do it. But I can chunk it, I can break it down.
Well done. And I agree 100%. By the way, that's the same way I do it. So thank you for clarifying, Clarissa, because without that clarification, your hearing be on that phone for 3 hours nonstop. Absolutely. I love the 25-minute and then a break strategy. If you did that every hour, you're working 25 minutes focused, taking a 5-minute break, back at it, 25 minutes, take a break, you're working 50 minutes out of every 60 minutes, you're going to be massively successful. And I love that. By the way, whatever time break works for you, okay? If 10 minutes is your max that you can focus before you need a break, then okay, dial, laser focused for 10 minutes, and then take a short break and get back at it. All right, everybody, thank you for being with me today. I hope you got value. Go put it into action. 2023 is going to require everything that you've got and more than you know, because this is an era of extra effort. Get laser focused, dial in, get on the phone, start having conversations, come from contribution, bring value to every conversation. You're creating relationships so that you're the natural answer when somebody asks, do you know a good real estate agent? Yeah, I do. All right, go get them, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you, John.
My pleasure.
Thank you, John.
Oh, Vivian, great seeing
Bye.
you there. Bye.